your child say that made you realize they were being manipulated? 14 years ago, when my 9-year-old son was battling leukemia, he came to me one day and asked, "Do you even want me to get better?" Turns out, he didn't say that because he himself thought so, rather because my ex-husband told him last weekend that, "Mommy isn't trying very hard for you." That broke my heart. My son had been battling cancer since he was 5, and his illness was the reason my husband left us in the first place. When Mason first got diagnosed, I dropped everything to become his full-time caregiver. I was there for every chemo treatment, every hospital stay, every time Mason vomited into the basin asking if Dad would be here soon. But Dad was never there. Dad was at the bar, drinking with friends and laughing about how sweet life was. He left us 3 years into Mason's treatment, citing he was sick of coming second in my list of priorities. I asked if he was serious. He was. He packed his bags and left in the middle of the night, not even telling our son bye. Yet somehow he was still given the weekends with Mason. It made no sense. He didn't even want Mason. I never understood why, but now it was clear. He wanted Mason so he could turn him against me. After Mason's question that day, Derek's interference quickly ramped up. He started attending parent support meetings, something he had never done, and at them started proving he was the better parent. In front of the others, he would loudly question me and start arguing about what the doctor said, roll his eyes when I spoke, and subtly imply Mom was the reason Mason wasn't getting better. I was mortified, because that couldn't be further from the truth. In reality, every time Mason came home after spending weekends with my ex, he was quieter, more withdrawn. He stopped eating much and started dreading going to the hospital. Then, after a particularly bad weekend, Mason came home pale, shaky, and running a fever. He curled up on the couch, barely moving. Derek said it was just a little cold and I shouldn't overreact again, but my instincts knew better. I rushed him to the ER. The doctors told me Mason had missed his critical treatment 2 days earlier. When I confronted Derek, he smirked and told me that real parenting is knowing when your kid can get better on his own, and that I was the reason Mason dreaded treatments. His words stuck to me, making me second-guess everything. Maybe I was pushing too hard and hurting my son. The guilt nearly crushed me, and to make matters worse, Derek served me court papers. He was claiming I was medically neglecting Mason, forcing him into treatments he didn't need. My heart sank. I realized he'd been building this up all along, setting me up to look like an unfit mother. Things spiraled fast. Derek started posting selectively edited photos online, showing Mason crying in hospital beds or me looking exhausted and frustrated. He twisted these pictures to make it seem like I was emotionally unstable and harming our son. My own friends stopped calling. Neighbors whispered behind my back at the grocery store. Even my family started doubting me, wondering if Derek's stories had some truth to them. Meanwhile, Mason got worse. He barely spoke, losing weight rapidly, and had dark circles permanently under his eyes. His little body was shutting down from stress and missed treatments. My lawyer advised me to meticulously document every doctor's appointment, every dosage, every moment of care. So I started gathering evidence, determined to fight back, even though part of me was terrified I'd lose Mason forever. Then, one afternoon, Derek's smear campaign exploded online. He painted me as a dangerous parent, gaining thousands of sympathetic comments from strangers who called for Mason to be taken away immediately. I felt utterly alone, judged by people who didn't know our story. Mason saw it too, and he started breaking down, saying he didn't want to go to court, didn't want any more fighting. He looked broken, and I felt responsible. The day we walked into the courtroom, I was terrified. Derek sat confidently across from us, already smiling like he'd won. When Mason was called to testify, my heart rose. But he surprised everyone, even me. He stood there, frail but steady, looked right at the judge and said, "My mom never hurt me. She's the only one who's ever tried to help me get better. Dad tells me to skip treatments. He says they're not important, but they are. Mom is fighting for me. Dad just pretends." The room went silent. Derek's face fell, losing his mask of charm instantly. He tried to interject, but Mason kept talking, his voice stronger now. "I'm tired and sick all the time because Dad makes me feel like treatments are bad. He told me Mom didn't care about me, but Mom's the only reason I'm still alive." The judge looked stunned. I'd never been so proud of Mason, but my stomach was in knots, waiting for the verdict. Finally, the judge spoke clearly, his voice firm. He awarded me full custody immediately, demanding supervised visits for Derek pending psychological evaluation. Mason and I both broke down crying, right there in court. Derek, humiliated, stormed out of the courtroom, but before he left, he leaned close and whispered bitterly, "I'm not done yet. That kid is mine." The full story is linked below.